webinar of Performance Days. Webinar due to the circumstances. My name is Nora Kühner. I'm a trend expert and forecaster, for those who don't know me. And I'm very happy that I can talk today about the focus topic or connected to the focus topic of Performance Days April 2020. Inspired by nature. And what I liked to add was the topic of another tomorrow. And I think this is more than ever the moment to think about tomorrow and to think about another tomorrow. Lots of inspiration, of course, because nature is abundant and lush and provides always inspiration and input which can also be used to think about what to do for the future, what to change. And yeah, let's just jump in. So I think this is a kind of mood at the moment in times of lockdown and nobody goes out, or we are restricted in how often we go out, and we cannot enter the shops. Slowly but surely in some countries and also in Germany, we are getting back to a routine, but it's not a routine as we know it, because we have to adapt to newness, to new circumstances, to new restrictions. And we will see where this will take us. And I think if we would have said by beginning of January this year, we would have said that such a thing would happen and that we would all be locked, everything would be locked down, and we were to stay indoors, especially for those who are sports people, something which is really, really unusual. So nobody could have imagined something like this. So we are really asked to think about and to how we can adapt. And I think this is also the moment where we should take the chance, and already a lot of discussions have started, how we can continue, we as a society, we all together as a global society, but also as a sector, as the industry, as also the conditions of economy. A lot of things to talk about, but let's focus on this topic of inspired by nature, another tomorrow. So I think what has become really pretty clear due to what happened within the last weeks is the question of resilience. How resilient is our industry? I think if I'm looking at all the messages about closing down companies, running out of money, and needing public help, financial help. So this thing Corona points out our weaknesses, our weak points. Too much of the same, no values. Really, most of the clothing and equipment has it's not appreciated by the user, and it's interchangeable. And most of all, it's supposed to be cheap. So no wonder that we are in trouble, or that the sector and also retail is in trouble. Weak point coming to the and this is not only the symbol for the lockdown, but it's also the symbol for chains. So, and supply chain, textile supply and sourcing chain is not a chain like this linear thing, but it's a nightmare, I would say. And for many years, or very often at Performance Days in the past, I've already talked about this topic. And I think this is really now the time to take serious action to change a lot of things connected to this supply chain, because we also see what is scarce now here with medical equipment, with medical protection, textile protection. So let's think about this. Of course, I don't have all the answers how to change, but what I want today is just to draw your attention to, yes, to weaknesses, but also to the strengths of an industry which always claims for innovation, creativity, and where a lot of creative people work and have already said in the past, a growing amount of people has said this, growing numbers of people, that we have to change and that we have to rethink. So it would really be yeah, a starting point if we take this current still stand, not only for thinking about how we can get back to business as usual, but how to change the business also in order to strengthen our resilience. Because as we all know, for example, Corona is not over as long as we don't have a vaccine. So it can return. Okay, back to business and to nature. Nature is our business base. It's not only the living base for all human beings, but it's also the base of our business. So, and we see also that it's not, that indoor sports is not the same as outdoor sports, also business-wise speaking, because indoor equipment usually it doesn't bring such a turnover like outdoor equipment, clothing, all the products connected to doing outdoor sports of any kind, from skiing to golf to climbing, whatever. So out of a space, nature, the open space of nature, is really something which needs protection, because otherwise we destroy if we destroy our the space, we also destroy our business. So nature is our business space, but it's a lot more. To all of us, to generations, still the beginning, already with the beginning of mankind, the history of mankind, nature has been an inspiration for creativity, for artworks, for development of tools and things like this. Here you see two beautiful fabrics done by Textiles and Hyperbola. So you see how important this inspiration is and how diverse. And on the other hand side, nature is also health supporting. We see this also in the current crisis, that people need to go out also just for feeling better and to have a positive effect on on the body. And at the moment, we only see nature, or we mainly see nature out of a window or from our balcony. So we really miss it. And this is really stunning, because more and more people stay indoors, what statistics show us within the last year, due to digitalization and to changing lifestyle, to live more in dense cities, people stay more at home. But now in this crisis, all start rethinking about the relation to going outdoors. So I think this is also a strong signal for our industry to think about and to bring together the protection of nature, the preservation of nature, together with our business. So we live in the Anthropocene, as it is called, this era. So significant human impact on the Earth's geology and ecosystems is visible. So this means we are really a power. Human beings destroy what is around, and if we do too much, and this is, as in the beginning said, we produce too much of the same, we nearly do everywhere. We exploit the planet more than it is, yeah, when this is really harmful. So this is a problem, and we face this problem for years. We are aware of that, but we still try not, or we don't try to think really anew. But if you see pictures like this, I would say back to the fact that we destroy natures in part, of course not at the moment all over the world, but we all know about the plastic garbage patch and about the degradation of land and water. So here would you like to swim in such a water? Would you like to surf in such a water? So we also, as a business, as an industry, we depend on beautiful places out in nature, and therefore we should be at the forefront to preserve nature and to protect and to do our best. And I think this is a perfect moment to really do relevant steps in better direction, because otherwise maybe we will become extinct. So back to nature and the resources. Crystal clear water is the most precious and essential resource, and we couldn't live without water. As you might have heard also last year, when I think it was in November 2018, that we had the focus topic of water, our responsibility at performance days. So crystal clear waters, yeah, precious. And then when you just hear some numbers, so the textile industry is in all parts depending on water. We have a high level water consumption, and all other current industrial practices in our industry are really basing on a high level of consumption. But I want to stay with water, because this is really, we couldn't live without water. So that's the fact. And we spend a lot of water. We spoil a lot of water due to our procedures, own processes, and the way we manufacture. And when you have a look at these numbers about what people buy from clothing as clothing, and how much they discard. And we all know the pictures from the landfills and the discussion about whether something is burned or whether it's just going to landfill and waiting for a kind of degradation. So if you see that, does it make sense to spoil such a or to waste such a precious resource like water for something which people throw away? And I just read lately an article about that, especially young people in the UK, they often prefer to throw something away instead of washing it. So they wear it once and then they discard it. So this piece of clothing. So this is, hey, I can't describe it. It really makes me wonder how we can continue to support this by producing masses and masses of clothing nobody wants, and just throwing it away. Like here, the number 1 million tons, 1 billion tons of clothing are discarded per year only in Germany. So this is something, like I said before, in nature. And when we look at nature as an inspiration, discarding, if something is senseless, not necessary, okay, in nature it will become extinct. So do we want our industry to be extinct, to become extinct? We have understood, and I think really sports sector is really already on a good way, but still very slow, and the scale is still something which can be increased a lot. So we talk about reuse, reduce, and recycle. Mainly we talk about recycling and use again post-consumer plastics and things like that. And we also do a little bit with cut-offs from the industry. But we all know that usually most of the things, it's downcycling, it's not upcycling, it's really downcycling. The quality is not that high, but I think I don't need to talk to you about these topics in detail, because you all know about this. We do it, and we have started it, and we talk a lot about this. But the fact, I want to come back to recycling plastics, to microplastics and all the bottles. In the meantime, post-consumer plastics are becoming scarce. So the prices increase, and so some companies, or a lot of companies, prefer to use fresh or virgin polyester or plastics, because the other recycled ones are too expensive, you know. But it's always a question of prices in our industry, like in many others. So if something is scarce, and someone I know from a company who is depending on recycled polyester, he says it's funny, but maybe one day somebody will come up and say, okay, I will produce more bottles in order to and then recycle it directly to make an offer for recycled polyester. So this is nonsense. So what we have to bring down is the quantities, and to really start thinking about the other points of reuse and reduce. So currently, what we do is a lot of research is done, especially on plant-based or fungi-based fibers coming from nature. We study carefully nature, because all this contemporary technology, all the technological advances has made it possible to extract even or to discover other solutions in nature, which hasn't been possible 50 years ago. So the research and development focuses on, at the moment, on finding new solutions for our problems, for new fabrics, fabrics which get closer to a closed loop, to a better life cycle, to a better eco balance, by watching nature and approaching this from a scientific and technological approach. So we learn from nature how to live maybe in balance, because nature is always in balance. What is not in balance comes from man-made input. So learning from nature is very important, and I think already in our industry we are going in the right direction. We have new materials deriving from pineapple leaves, eucalyptus, fungi, algae, coffee grounds, whatever, hemp, linen, all these natural fibers are coming back on a in a stronger version, in a more contemporary version. And I think we will see a lot more development in these ways of working with nature for our industry. But the problem is at the moment still, and I think for a lot of these developments, this will be a problem, that the quantities are not big. So sustainable materials usable for our textiles, especially for performance textiles, we still have a long way to go, and most innovation might just cover small quantities. And this is really, I think, the most important word, quantity. As before, too much of the same. So what we need is we have to adapt our system of production and consumption. We all together as a society, we have to rethink, what do we really need? And I think also, again, here, this crisis should show us what we really need, and we should become aware of what we really need, what is important to us. And is it really to have tons of clothing which I can just discard and throw away without thinking of any problems which might occur? Or what is what are really important things in life? And also, from as a product, what do we need to keep our lifestyle in a way which we like? So I think what we really need is a paradigm shift, coming to getting away from mass consumption and from mass production, of course. So this will be a challenge. I know you will always tell me that the consumer wants this and he wants cheap things, and I think it was a story, a narrative, which had many years ago had started, but we told people, the industry told people, or the sectors, in any sector, this was the narrative. You can have, you as a consumer, can have more for the same money, so, or for even less money. So it was a narrative, and over the decades, over the last 50 decades, 50 decades, we really have brought the people to believe in that it's possible to get everything at nearly any price. Even sometimes you get a gift or so. And I think one day we will be there at that point that we will even pay the consumer to take our stuff if we continue like this. It's not so much the matter in sports, of course, I know. But think of T-shirts, and we also offer T-shirts, and it's also always a fight for prices. So really, we have to come up with new narratives and to teach also the consumer. And I don't like so much the word consumer. I usually don't use it because for me, I use a product, and I think this would be the spirit that we, to get more relevant products. If we talk about developing and offering or making product offers which make sense, which you use to do your life, to make what you want in your life with this clothing. It's something which supports you to live your life as a user as you want it. Because the basic human needs, clean air, clean water, food, and clothing. Clothing, as long as we don't live in a laboratory where the temperature and the circumstances are always the same. We need clothing to keep us warm, to protect us from rain, from wind, from storms. But clean air, clean water, food, and clothing. This is it, what we need to keep the machine running, the body running. And all the other stuff, we can live without a smartphone, we can live without cars, we can live without planes. So basic human needs. And I cannot understand how we want to continue to spoil the planet and the Earth, just to destroy our base of life, of living. And this is why I really appreciate this claim that the OECD has put up in June 2016, that we should think about redefining the growth narrative. We should forget about this and put people's well-being at the center of government's efforts. I think this is really the story. We can discuss what we want, and we can do as much sustainable efforts as we want to reduce water for our dyeing processes, reduce water for doing all the finishes, and reduce our energy level of consumption, and take great sustainable fibers, and so on and so on. But the problem is the quantity, it's the mass. And therefore we cannot exploit this planet more than it can bear, because Earth can exist without us, but we cannot exist without clear water, clean air, and also food which we can digest, which we can feed, which feeds our body. So we really need to think this to think anew. And what is more important, the economical growth or the well-being of people? And I think we should also understand in this situation, of course, this Corona crisis shows that economy is super important for keeping the whole system running. But on the other hand side, why is this lockdown? It's because we want to take care of people and their well-being. And we have to really think of people's well-being and future generations' well-being instead of making only money. Because doing less with prices, we are always great to bring them down. And what we offer, as I said before, one day we will offer, even if you get in my shop or if you order online, you will get a 50% discount of nothing, and then you get in addition a gift. So because I don't want a price from you, because I'm happy if this whole stuff is off of my department. So really here we can do less where we accept it. But on the other hand side, we have these discussions. We always claim or say the consumer, he doesn't want to pay, he doesn't appreciate our products. I think this is a discussion which is long overdue, or we shouldn't discuss this. We should decide, okay, we do products with a value, giving back value. And it doesn't come at any price. It has a certain price. And I think this is also a problem we in the industry we caused, or we told people, or we caused this problem, but people, no one understands what might be an appropriate price, for example, for an outdoor jacket, because if you get in August, you go to the shop, you see the skiing jacket, the outdoor winter jackets already in store at full price, and this is maybe 490 euros, and everybody's, oh no, not in August, and then if there's no snowflake inside by beginning of October, the first retailers take the red pencil and say, okay, a discount. And up front Christmas, you get it for even more discount. And after Christmas, you really get this winter stuff for such a low price that really it's not possible for the user, for the buyer of the product to say what are appropriate prices for textile products or for other products, because they cannot imagine, they don't trust in what we say. If you say this jacket is worth 490 or 490 euro, because why can they then get it at the beginning of January for 190? That doesn't make sense. Nobody understands this. And so it's really up to us. We cannot always say the consumer asked us. We have to think about new narratives and new stories, and we have to take this effort. So, because our sector's DNA, as said before, creativity and innovation, we are the ones, we know, we have a big expertise, and we have such a lot of incredible knowledge compared also to other clothing sectors. I think we in sports, we are close to nature with our DNA. Sports comes from nature, and with our business base, as said before. And we do clothing for and equipment for people who want to enjoy nature, who want to do their sports outdoors. So it should be an obligation for us to think really in a way that takes us to a future, and a future which is not marked by natural disasters and fires and viruses and so. And I like this saying of what a student who took part in one of my master classes, and he already said it in 2016, and I love it still, and it accompanies me. I love design and I love the earth. We shouldn't have to sacrifice one for the sake of the other. And I think this is explicitly what we should listen to. And because also in speaking about the young ones, the young designers, young product developers, the emerging talents, they are much more into this topic as we imagine, as the elder generations imagine. I'm doing this now for 5 years, working with students. And I can say if I have 30 students in one master class, about 27 of them is only about sustainability. Or once a young student came and said, Nora, I cannot understand how an industry can work like this with producing so much landfill. How is it possible, and what is it business? It cannot be business to produce such an amount of landfill. And I had to discuss 4 days with him about this topic. And he said, I want to tackle this. This is my task in this textile industry. I want to tackle this topic of landfill, avoiding textile landfill in this amount. So therefore, I would also say, as we are not only creative and innovative, but we also want another claim of ours is functionality. So we say, okay, we do highly functional clothing, we do highly functional products, and but how can a product be functional if it destroys, on the other hand side, the places where the wearer of this clothing, maybe outdoor jacket, wants to enjoy being outdoors. So functionality is more than protecting you from water and to have appropriate wind density and to whatever, and to be highly abrasion resistant. It should also be, the functionality should also be what happens with the clothing after it's worn out, with the garment. So this is also part of the functionality. And if we manage to bring here this life cycle thinking of nature and this functionality thinking of nature, that not throwing away without any sense, without meaning, is not functional. So this, I think, is also a big challenge we should tackle when we start working again on the next collections and for our future way. And just here, we all know that the world will change. We are aware, but we don't have pictures. I think this is the big problem, and we don't have a clear way. But I think we all want to be individual. We claim our individuality. So we should also find our own way, but all together, what we all together as a system, it's really about recycling, it's about repairing. We have to teach people, or to make offers to them that they can repair clothing, a garment. For example, last vacation I met an English friend of mine, and he was really enthusiastic about a brand where he could send the jacket which the zipper was broken, and he got it back, and it was really done. The only thing what I had to complain about was that he had to send it from England to Portugal and then back to England. So this is still far away, far too long, and too difficult in terms of ecology. But so people take these offers, but we have to show them, and we have to show that this is not nothing which brings the clothing down or value, but that this is something also, it has a value, and it's for example, a garment which you keep for years. I really like, we have to also as an industry to like this idea that our garments, like a bottle of wine, maybe gets better with the wearer's experience, or who get into this garment or equipment. So on the other hand side, we shouldn't be happy that people discard our clothing or our products. We should collect worn out garments and try to find out what we can do with that. I know we all have, there is a lot of starting points in this story, and a lot of companies or small startups have already started with that. And I think it's astonishing that it's mainly young people who really think about what can we do with the stuff which is already here. Or like Christopher Rabin once said to students when he was sharing, you don't have to bring new stuff into a world. There is enough stuff you can work with. So these are guidelines for developing a new way of industry. Maybe we will be service provider. Maybe one day we only give the recipe, the pattern to the people, and they will then print it out with a 3D printer, or there is a small manufacturing atelier, let's say it like this, where they can have this pattern they bought from you, the brand, with the trustability and the expertise in doing outdoor jackets in a place close to his home. So really, there's a lot of ways to think anew, and what in general should be added to a product which is, as I said before, one of the basic human needs is clothing, because we need the protection to keep us warm. We should add to this product. We shouldn't keep this product any longer as a cheap thing which can be thrown away anytime, and even after only once wearing it. So it's about longevity, versatility, and appropriate functionality. No overacting, but appropriate functionality, because most of the people don't go to the Mount Everest and need a high level of functionality. So I think it's time to rethink also functionality in this way and getting it more into the everyday clothing. And it's us also to bring this to the people. And I know that some brands already have started this way. And I think this is something also to keep your brand's trustability and your if you claim for innovation and creativity, this means you also can change. And so a brand which is able to change and to develop its roots, its heritage further and go new ways, it's exactly about what a brand should be, not sticking to things long past, but to venture also to go together with their users in new ways. So, and new ways, yeah, clothing only a projection. I was asking this already last year at Performance Days. Maybe we know all digitalization is now on its way, and we will have virtual worlds. Maybe one day we switch just without any effort from virtual to analog, and we live in different worlds. If I listen to the students I had in January with me for a masterclass, this might be possible within the next 50 years. So maybe clothing is only a projection, or and we know that already a lot of money is done with so-called digital clothing, mainly for influencers or people who just want some clothing for a post. But maybe if the way of living changes a bit more, this will also alter our, or we have to alter ourselves to feed the altering needs of our users. And as said before, the young generation is much more into this. And here are some pictures, which last year in summer, a group of students, international students, not coming from only one country, but from Finland, from Germany, from Poland, and then from France. And they developed this protection suit before, and this is now the stunning thing, for the world, where it's difficult, if even not dangerous, to get out of your home. And when I was preparing this presentation, it was really something I wanted to show you, that last July to September, they developed this suit because they thought it should, what they thought about the needs of somebody who is used to living indoors. And now he wants to go outdoors, but outdoors is dangerous due to pollution, due to degradation and whatever. And what are the bare needs for such a protection suit? And they developed this suit. And yeah, and I think today we would be happy to have such a suit. No, but and what was frightening for me last year, that the students came with this idea that one day, sooner or later, this surrounding, this natural place called Earth will be so dangerous that we have to have a protection suit. So I think this is not a heritage we should pass on to the next generation. So it's also in their interest that we have to keep nature as a safe space for them too, not only for us. So dare, and how dare you not to do something for the preservation of nature, I would say. And my final slide, looking at this beautiful coastline, I really think I think it's worth to rethink our relationship with nature, because this is it, as said before, nature can exist, or planet Earth can exist without us, but we cannot exist without planet Earth. And looking to this beautiful coastline, which is in Oregon, and in 1913, the governor at the time was Oswald West, and he signed a law to protect this coastline from any selfish interests and to keep it for the coming generations because it's so beautiful. And I think, what is the problem today to say what we still have in hand on Earth, on the planet, is so beautiful, and it allows us to make our business. Why can't we change the way we do business to a more sustainable and really life cycle economy, to keep it, to preserve it also for the next 100 years at least, for the next generations. So I think this is something, when I was standing there in October, I was really thinking, why is this not possible for us today to think in longer spans of time and to say, it's so beautiful, we have to preserve it. Let's do our best. Let's start today, even though there's still lockdown in a lot of countries. And hope to see you at Performance Days by end of October in Munich. And I think we have a lot of things to discuss, and I will be happy to also answer now your questions. If you have some questions, please send them. I will try my best to answer them. And thanks a lot for listening. And yeah, looking forward to meet you in October in Munich at Performance Days. Thanks.